Hello everybody, welcome. Let me post this. Sophist is already here, nice to see you. Takes a little while for people to join, of course. But today we're going to be working on my preset pack. I'm going to be making more presets for that. And we'll just chat and do some interesting sound design stuff. And we'll see where it goes from there. This is the project that I have for that. This is the session. It just has a kick and bass now. There's a size scope and a whole group of other stuff, all the presets, that kind of stuff, all of the old stuff. I guess I can call this old stuff. All of the old stuff is going to go in here. I have 3 synths over here. I think this is already a preset, if I can see it over there. Interesting particle-like stuff, I guess. Cool stuff there. And then the next 2, I think we still have to turn into presets. Yeah, you can see in it over here. And then over here we have this, which is also still in it. Hello YB, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? I think I want to start out turning these into presets. For this one, it's a complex FM setup with like 3 levels to it, I guess. FM from B, so this one is FMing this one, and then this one is FMing this one. All of these 3 synths were made for a video that I recently posted. So, yeah, I guess that's why they're like residues where they're not full patches yet. For this one, what I think I'll do, instead of just having a macro over here that people can control for the modulation, is I'll write something in. Maybe over the course of a bar. Of course, it should be a smooth modulation. You can make use of some 16 notes like this. And then assign this in the same way. I guess if you hold it, you get more of the pattern. Ninaxi and Greedo, welcome as well. How are you guys doing? Just everybody saying hello. Very nice. It's kind of funny that everybody is here. I would assume everybody would be on holiday by now. I think. Just trying something out here. I guess just for ease of being able to hear it, we'll turn this into one long note. We also have the macro in here, which I've recorded. which we obviously don't want because we want to be able to set that while we're listening to the preset. So I would like to completely delete that. Okay, overall I like the sound that we're getting. It just needs a little bit of extra complexity. So I was hoping that I would be able to do like a pitch idea maybe. Oh, I would need to write that in as well, because it's, yeah. It's dependent on the pattern that we're playing in the bars over here. So this is another eighth notes. And this is just going to be like a very fast pitch click at the start. And then we end with this, like so. And now we can, holding Alt, just drag them all down. You get these nice starting tones, I guess. I was hoping we would get more of like an actual click out of it. I don't like the noisy texture that we're getting now that we have this, like a little bit like this. And with lower settings or without this, we have a much more tonal sound, I guess. I don't know how that works, why increasing the pitch for a while removes the tone like that. I guess what we can do is use envelope 4 here as a small envelope, and then design the actual click that we want, and have envelope 3 apply it, because envelope 3 is kind of like a gate here. Cool. And then we can set the pitch amount over here. I want this to be part of an effect. Why is this not working? Modulate Y to bus 2, yeah. Yeah, I wanted to start at the bottom so that no effect is there. We get a little bit of a bleep out of that, which I like. That sounds fairly cool. We already have some effects in here, but what I would like to do is maybe use something like a flanger to get some really fast modulation on it. Okay, so here we can manually modulate it, I guess. The way that I'm going to do that is using the noise oscillator. Can do some cool stuff with the noise oscillator because it allows you to modulate in key by just setting the noise oscillator here. And then over here for the phase, we can also modulate through that. I'd hoped we would get a little bit more of a delay sound out of that, but I guess we can use the comb filter for that. We should also set up the ambience already for this. Bit more decay as well if you open it up more. So this is the ambience, and then this would be like the click, I guess, of the sound. Do we want some movement in here? I think we do, right? Let's design some long movement. I am seeing that we're disconnecting from time to time. I am also seeing that on my preview. I hope everything is stable enough. It is saying that I dropped like 2% of all of my frames and that I'm continuing to drop frames. I'm also not seeing the chat. I don't know if there's anybody in chat. It doesn't seem to appear on my OBS as well. Hoping that it stays stable. It wasn't like a crash like it was before. It just didn't keep up. Everything is good. Okay, perfect. Okay. We'll design a little modulation for this thing here. I just want like a general path for the modulation on this thing over here, and then we'll have another modulation to it, which is going to be the chaos oscillator, which is going to do just very, very little. Let me set that up. It's easier to do it like this, and then go into the chaos and lower it, as opposed to finding it in the massive menu over here in the effects. And then in the chaos oscillator, we want a low rate, I think. overall, I think I like where this is going. I think a little bit of extra spice in the form of a downsample would be nice. Should we make it so that there's also a version of the gate where it's just 16 notes? That could be cool. We also need to assign another macro, and the module I think will be fairly easy because I think the bandpass is the obvious candidate here. We can even set that up already. We'll go for the same amount. And then of course over here we go module up and invert it. Cool. Yeah, I think I do want a change in the gate here. We'll just set this to 16 note because the modulation for the tone is continuous. And the modulation for the pitch clicks we can also alter. Right, for LFO3 and LFO2. Yes. Okay, so here we go, macro 2. And then LFO3 is just used for the master tuning for the click thing. Oh. I guess then there will be a few of them that don't have a click. I guess that's not that big of an issue. It means that we're just replacing LFO2 over here with LFO7. So this should be on invert. And this should be on normal, I think. I mean, we still get the clicks, which is nice. It just keeps the pattern of the other one. Okay, then the final macro over here. Would it be cool to have like a stereo effect on the comb filter? If I set this close, will it not stay to one side then? Yeah, no, perfect. Nice, nice. Okay. Stereo move. Of course, that means movement, but that doesn't fit in here. And I think, just idea-wise, the preset is pretty done. I think gliding with this would be cool. We also have perfect pitch bend and macro options there. So that's nice. And then here, how would I describe this sound? Now comes the hard part. I have to name the sound. I hope this fits in there. Yes, it does. Nice. At least this is a good description of what the preset offers. And then for the name, I need something catchy, of course. It's not how you pronounce flanger. Like you don't say flanger danger or flanger danger, right? So it doesn't really fit, but I guess just writing it down like that, it should be okay. Like it doesn't rhyme, and even though the last 5 letters are the same, so it's a bit strange. I guess phaser danger would be even better as a name, but of course this doesn't use a phaser, so that wouldn't work. Next up, we have this sound over here, which is based on wave shaping. Right now, a bit of a dull texture. I'm going to set up the ambience first, because we know that that has to happen. I don't really like the texture of the reverb that we're getting here. I think first of all we should again set up a modulation already for this. I think in this case I don't want to turn it into a sequence, I want to turn it into a normal lead sound. Oh. Let's see if we set up a little bit more of a normal rhythm here. course, the delay is masking a lot of the issues that I have with the reverb, I guess. Yukor Ogo, how are you doing? Welcome. I should... Is this not looping? I guess not. Cool. That means that we can set up the delay and reverb together, of course. Feedback goes up as well. Overall, I'm still not super happy with the tonality. It's a little bit hard to change with the way that we've set this up. This whole graph over here, we can try to make a bit more in terms of the modifications here. I would like a stronger lower tone, but I don't think that that's... Okay. I like the sound of that, but I want a few more higher frequencies. I like that. What I'm going to do for both of these is render the oscillator warp. So that we can set it like this and we can use different things here. I want to set up sync for both of these. Let's see what happens if we set them both to like 60 here. That is very cool. I like that. Mind Game, how are you doing? Welcome. Oh, hey, the Stream Elements bot got an upgrade. It got a profile picture now. Anyway, sync over here. That sounds cool. I would also understand having like a big pitch bend on here. At least in like a build-up kind of situation. Modview again will set up something for the filter cutoff here, because I think that that's very important for the tonality. I think I may want to have this modulation a little bit more. Kind of comes with a duality in the way that it's going back and forth with the pattern that we're playing now. I hope that a lot of patterns have that. Filter cutoff here. And then the amount is 50, right? Yeah. It's almost like a flanger effect. Greetings, bro, from Uruguay, South America. That's very far away. Greetings back to Uruguay. It has always been interesting to see like the different nationalities of people and where everybody's coming from and such while you're doing this kind of streaming, or in general just like the YouTube stuff, because YouTube gives me a lot of information about where you guys are watching from, also what kind of devices you watch on and all of that kind of stuff. I get to see that, which overall is very interesting. It is of course all like averages of the whole channel. It's not like every individual I get to see like, oh, what's your phone or what device that you watch on and all of the exact data and stuff. I just get an average of a few age ranges, a few devices, a few I think different links that people use to get to my content, or to share my content, stuff like that. But a whole bunch of different information on, I guess, where people are from and who people are, which is interesting to see sometimes. Like a lot of people that are way older than me watch me, which I find very, not really like confusing or something like that, but it goes to show that there's a lot of, I guess, different age ranges that are interested in psytrance production. Whereas for a lot of other production, you'll mainly see that it's more younger people, I think. A little bit of chorus there works well. We still need to add 2 more effects or macros. Maybe a bit of noise in here. That's nice. But I would like the bright white and then pitching it up a bit. And I think one overall modulation like a phaser would also be nice. We also have the filter here. So we can use one of these phaser effects, which I sometimes like more. I think combining a few different modulations of a few different lengths could be cool. So we'll have like a 8-bar one that goes. Which channel do you submit your track? I mean, I'm not doing any feedback today, so I don't know where you got that idea from. It's not Sunday, is it? It's Friday. It should be Friday. Yeah. You can submit in my Discord already for Sunday. Somebody's also adding me for feedback on stream. Wait, why am I so far back? Wait, where? Huh? Discord is passing out a little bit. Okay, sorry. When is your track review stream? It is next Sunday. It's this Sunday. I wanted to show this. Yeah, I got a little bit sidetracked because I got a notification that somebody added me, and usually I take a look when that happens, but it didn't show. Anyway, here's in the Discord server feedback on stream. Here you can post, of course, before posting, read this information. And then you can post for next Sunday, and I'll just go through all of the tracks that have been submitted in the queue. Usually towards Sunday, people start already submitting their tracks, so by the time that the stream starts, there's like 5-6 tracks in there already. And then when the stream starts, a lot of people see it as well, and they'll submit their last track and their last work. But yeah, you can already submit for that if you want to. But for today, we're just making presets. And all I need right now is to make sure that this phaser idea is tied to a macro, which I'm going to do like this. And it would also be cool to maybe use modulation like this to introduce a slide panning maybe. Sounds cool. What will equals filter? Okay. What I want to do now that we have these two presets ready, is I want to try to make a few paths and atmospheres and that kind of stuff. Ah, somebody posted that track recently. Ah, okay. Sorry, I got confused with Discord again. I'll just close it out and watch that later. As I said, a few paths and atmospheres would be nice. This is usually a good start for like the darker Reese type atmospheres that I like to have sometimes in my project. I would like one though that isn't clicky. We'll add some movement to this. Which we'll control by a macro. There's going to be more parameters to this. This is not just going to be a slight movement. I think I want to do like a little changes to fine tuning and that kind of stuff. The kind of analog feeling modifications. So to do that, we can set up a chaos oscillator here, a chaos oscillator to the detune here. This should overall make it more of an analog, less stable sound. Or do we also want maybe Chaos 2 on this thing here? I don't think I like that they're all the same. What I can do is just draw in something like this. Of course, we want it to be unpredictable because it's meant to signify like an analog sound. I think curve-wise we want a flow that is like natural, right? And then we set this to alpha 1 here. Maybe a bit too sharp and maybe a bit too much here. What do you think of the hardstyle psytrance tracks that are popular right now? When it comes to stuff like hardstyle, I don't normally listen to it. I like it. I do have some tracks that occasionally I'll play or something like that. But it's not something that I personally enjoy in any way. And I don't have any intention of making something like that. I've experimented from time to time with it, because it's always good to experiment outside of your genre sometimes. I've also recently had a student that asked about hardstyle, so I had to study it a little bit more. And there's definitely a lot of interesting sound design in there. Sound design wise, like the kick drum, it is based on a very, very simple principle, but there's the implementation, I guess, of that principle can be made very complex. And that is what makes it interesting. It's not something like the psytrance bassline, I guess, that you would immediately understand, right? Everybody knows that, like the psytrance bass, everybody has heard the sound of a low-pass filter on a saw wave, right? Because that is used in a lot of different sound design principles, and one of that is psytrance for the bassline. The basis of the psytrance bassline, just like the patch, it is super easy. But then you go into the processing and you dive deeper into maybe cleaning up that processing or resampling to the oscillators, and then you can make it very, very complex if you want to. For hardstyle and stuff like that, those genres, the initial sound design principle that is at play is already very difficult to understand. It has to do with distortion. Say that you set up a distortion here. This is just an example. This is not XD for the patch that we're going to make, of course. But you set up a distortion like this, where you're pushing an EQ into the distortion so that you get more overtones of this specific frequency, usually with a lot of resonance. And that is where you get that like strong mid-range from in the hardstyle kick that is in tune with the key of your track. At least from what I understand about it. Of course, as I said, I'm not an expert. I haven't experimented too much with it. But it's interesting stuff. I guess tangentially to that, maybe this is also interesting that I speak about this. Tangentially to that idea of hardstyle psytrance and even like mainstream psytrance that a lot of people tend to criticize. Personally, I don't really have a problem with it. I know that it's not in the spirit of what psytrance is when you're listening to I guess to use that term, real psytrance, which is not a term that I like, because at the end of the day, those people that make that kind of music are also artists, and they're should be treated as such. Maybe some of them have a profit motive, but still, at the end of the day, they're making the music that they want to make for whatever reason, and that should be respected. And I feel like a lot of discussions about like real psytrance and that kind of thing is fairly toxic in that regard. Because you hear a lot of people saying, even between people that maybe like old school psytrance versus the newer stuff, what you see, I recently saw like a video about is older music better by, what's his name again? Guy is now in the hospital. It's a little bit sad, I think, but he used to pop up all the time in my recommendations, and now I don't know anymore. I'm not even subscribed to him, I think. Wait. I'll find this. Oh yeah, Rick Beato. He's a bigger YouTuber. Yeah, Rick Beato. Yeah, somebody already posted in the chat, but that's the person that I'm talking about. He made a similar video on like, is the quality of music reducing? And his arguments are like ease of access makes it so that overall music becomes worse, which is something that I personally don't subscribe to. I think he is comparing the good of the old versus the bad of the new, which is something that you'll often see. A lot of conversations or a lot of comparisons in any form of social discussion or political discussion, what you'll find is that somebody who has a point to make will make a comparison in a way that on one hand you have a lot of positives, and they're comparing that with the negatives of the new, of the other thing, right? One system versus another system, the signing a law versus not signing a law. In this case, old music versus new music. You have nostalgia for all of the old music, and you don't remember all of the bad music that was coming out back in the day, because that is music is forgettable, right? You don't remember that because it's bad music. You only remember the good stuff. And you're comparing that to something that you're trying to find examples for. You're going to find a lot of examples of bad modern music. If that is your starting off point, like if that's the idea that you go into some kind of research with, then you're going to find what you're researching. You got a lot of pushback, yeah. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up is at the same time there was somebody on the Psytrance Discord or the Psytrance Production Discord, one of the two, and he was basically saying the exact same thing. He was making the same kind of logical, like, I do like this, but that doesn't mean that I think he's crazy. Logical thought. How would you actually name that? I would personally, yeah, I would call it maybe like a logical mistake, because I think he is also, when he compares like old school psytrance, because that was what that post was doing, he's comparing old school psytrance with the newer stuff, and he was saying like the newer stuff is formulaic, there isn't a lot of experimentation, there isn't a lot of new things happening in psytrance, and then he says compare that with the old stuff, where there's this big difference in tonalities, big difference in all of the ways that people are experimenting with psytrance, he claims. But to me, personally, first of all, the songs that he plays in his video, he made a video that went along with the post and the playlist. I think I should be able to find it, actually. I don't want to play it here on stream, because I don't like doing React stuff, but I can show the post. I think it was the normal psytrance subreddit, but it has been a while ago, so it may be takes a while to find. It might be fairly high voted because he didn't get a lot of pushback. It was the point that I was trying to make. He got the... Is it this? No, I don't think so. Oh yeah, here. Yeah, he got almost 100 upvotes. So this is the post, and he has a YouTube video, and from that YouTube video there is a playlist. And to me personally, as somebody that wasn't there for the nostalgia era of psytrance, the late 90s, early 2000s, maybe even up until the 2010s, 2015, some people say. But even then, I started listening to psytrance in 2019. So I'm behind all of that. And to me, what I hear nowadays when I listen to stuff like the feedback stream and stuff, is that there's a lot of people that are experimenting with a lot of different styles of psytrance. I feel like psytrance is more diverse than it ever has been. But this guy says the opposite, and he didn't get like super much pushback, I don't think. Maybe my comment got upvoted a lot too. Not really that much. But this is my comment over here. I have a different username on Reddit. But sometimes I get upvoted because people know, because I moderate the psytrance production forum. So there people see that this is me, this username, and then people get a lot of or give a lot of upvotes to me purely based on that reason. So do I have anything else to say about this? Not really. Yeah, there was a playlist that I wanted to. Again, I'm not going to play it. I don't even remember. Oh, we started with the hardstyle stuff in that regard. I think to tie it all back together, what I should say is that personally, I don't have any issue with any type of music or like within psytrance. I'll listen to any type of psytrance. I listen to progressive stuff. I listen to some mainstream stuff. I listen to some really dark and experimental stuff. I sometimes listen to some older stuff, although it's not my favorite. I can still appreciate with the techniques at the time what they were able to produce. But overall, I personally am a fan of a little bit of the newer music, just because that is kind of the scene that I grew up in, I guess. The psytrance scene that I knew. And that was what was popular back then, and that is also what I personally like to produce. Next stream could be nice with bare stomach. No, that is behind the paywall. You have to go to my Patreon. You're not getting that for free. Anyway, overall, I would say, like, do I have anything to conclude that with? I don't think so. Sometimes when I have a conversation like that, where either I get interrupted or I just ramble on for however long that was, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, I come to the end, and then in the edit I see it. I know what I'm about to say, right? And I see there's like 30 seconds left. There's no way that I have a nice conclusion to this conversation. It's just going to end on some random tangent with 14 things that I still wanted to maybe talk about, and that continues on and on and on. Only trance? Mostly, yeah. Like personally listening, I would say 95% of the music that I listen to is psytrance. And all of the other music that isn't psytrance, I have in like different playlists and stuff like that. It's not that I... whenever I listen, it's either like psytrance stuff or some random playlist. I have like a big playlist on YouTube with a whole bunch of more like meme sounds and tracks that I want to remember and stuff like that. And that has just grown and grown and grown over the years. And just also some cool music, of course. But mostly psytrance is what I listen to. we have the analogness of this down. I think it would be cool to give it some attack and release here. Maybe a very long. I'm just going to make all of the parameters longer. I like that. I am going to I like how it kind of morphs from texture to texture this way. Still want this to be low enough here. This is kind of like the pad that you put below all of your other pads, so that it has like a stable foundation. I'll usually have one or two of these kind of presets in the pack as well, and then some more I guess unique sounds, more textured sounds. I meant only trends like OnlyFans. Ah, okay. I used to listen to ABBA, then punk, then skinhead music, then acid house, then techno, then rubber, then Frenchcore, acid techno to psytrance to high tech. That is quite the progression indeed, yes. I was a Frenchcore fan too when I was younger. Stuff like Micropoint, Hellfish, etc. Again, not names that I'm familiar with, because I don't listen to a lot of other music outside of psytrance, but I am also a fan of the occasional Frenchcore. Just like, I guess just like everything else in regards to all of the other music that I listen to, it's that I do technically listen to a whole bunch of different genres. I listen to any kind of music. It's just that it's a very rare occasion. So I'd like to say that I basically only listen to psytrance. And then I have, as I said, a playlist of like 300, 350 tracks of all kinds of genres, of all kinds of music. Some is funny, some is very interesting, some is very emotional. And I just, every once in a while, put on maybe one or two of those tracks as well. Just for whatever reason. So this is Ambience. Would be cool to have a layer on top of this as well. Which is a little bit more detuned. And then we'll do the same trick but in opposite way. So we do chaos 2, chaos 1. Be fine tuning and then hello. Uni detune here. And even set the same value so that technically the modulation is the same, it's just using the opposite chaos oscillators for the modulation, so that way there's a little bit more variation in there. I need to set up, of course, the macros here. I would like a little bit of distortion here. Maybe something asymmetrical. so that we get a warm saw wave texture. But we just want like a softer-ish saturation. We're not going to go wild as we saw in the last one. Sounds like I have to tame this one a lot, actually. It's just this bit of saturation already enough for us to get those very high frequencies. Ah, it's because it's before the compressor. Ah, okay. Yeah, we just want like a slight distortion on this. Set this to like halfway, and then even here we could make a different one over here. In this case we could just go for like tube distortion. That way when the filter cutoff opens up we can have a more lower distortion type. Yeah, this is generating a few too many high frequencies for my liking. So we're going to smooth both of them out. Cool. You should try making ambient just for fun. I have done that. I have done a challenge stream a long time ago where I made some ambience. I don't remember what the premise of that stream was or the challenge was. If we were all making ambience or something like that. I do kind of miss doing the challenges. But honestly, it's just not worth it. I would do them on Sunday, and everybody isn't excited for feedback on Sunday. And anytime, like even at the later challenges, people were sad that it would be a challenge week as opposed to a feedback week. So for that reason, I kind of stopped doing the challenges. And I don't think I want to make it like a regular thing that I would do during the week. That would mean that I would have 2 regular streams during the week, and I think that I'm a little bit too busy to do that now. There's other content that I can produce that is much more beneficial for the growth of the channel and the business that I'm trying to start here in this music thing, or the business that I'm already running, technically. It just has to grow. Sometimes when it comes to those decisions, you do feel like you can kind of get annoyed by the fact that you have to keep the business into account, keep into account that you, at the end of the day, have to pay bills. But at the other hand, it also gives you kind of like a goal, I guess, to work towards all the time, which keeps me motivated a little bit more. The techno track you made was awesome. I did get a little bit of critique from people in that the BPM was wrong. People said like techno nowadays is between 130 and 150-ish. Overall, I liked it too. There were some cool ideas in there. It was just like a fun one-off video. I don't think I'll do a lot more with techno. But it was fun to see how it's made. We had this one over here. This is the grid. And then we also already had set up another. Oh yeah, the octave. We can set the octave here too. Set darkness there. Okay. I don't know if that's the correct word for it. I mean, basic. I don't want to call it like bass, as in the bass that your track is sitting on. But that's kind of, I guess, what this track is. And I think using bass would refer to like bass, right? Sidetrans bass, and that's not what this is, clearly. Techno got quite fast again. Yeah, I thought techno was like slower, right? One of the things that I did get wrong, that stylistically could have been different, was not having a clap in there. Because somebody left a comment in regards to how techno is focused around the offbeat head a lot more, right? Sidetrans also kind of has that, in that the high energies also have the offbeat hat, the open hi-hat on the offbeat, that is. But it also has the snare in there on the 2 and the 4, which is borrowed from a lot of other dance music. And techno apparently doesn't do that. It tends to have claps just kind of, not randomly, but just like adding rhythmical variations, as opposed to on the 2 and the 4, like a lot of other dance music has. And that is something that I just didn't know, right? That's something that if you really want to make that kind of music, you would study, you would listen to a lot of reference material and instantly pick that up. But I just didn't. I just wanted to film an interesting video, and that's what I did. Okay, let's set this down so that we can have this as the basis for our other pads. So we take a pad like this and go 1, 2, 3 octaves down, for those that want to see if once the pack comes out. And then let's say that we want to write a pad on top of this. How many presets are in your pack overall? I prepare a pack for Cinema. I'll try to go to 100 presets. Is it enough? When it comes to creating a pack, I don't look for a number. To quickly answer your question, around 100 is usually what I aim for. But the more important characteristic for me to see if a pack is truly finished is to see if I find the pack well-rounded. As in, for me it's important that there's a lot of different sounds that together you can basically work into a track, right? At the end of the day, you're not going to provide somebody presets and they're going to be using them for 10, 15 tracks, because they'll get bored of the ideas eventually. But what you want to give them is you want to give them basically a toy creatively that they can use, that they just open up and they browse through, and for that first few times that they open it up, they're saying, oh yeah, there's some really cool stuff in here. But the 100th time that somebody opens up your preset pack and they've heard all of the sounds already 99 times, they're not really going to be excited anymore. They're just going to have a few of those presets that they're always going to be using because it has become part of the sounds. But there are a lot of other presets at the end of the day don't really matter for a lot of the people using a preset pack. To give you an example, I use a couple of preset packs. For example, Echotronics for Serum by Futurephonics here, and I just used like 3 or 4 of the sounds in here, and that's basically it. Like, I don't use any of the basses, rarely use any of the effects. All of the other leads I don't really like. I've heard those a lot, but there's like a cool squelch in here that works really well, and a very nice distorted squelch that works really well, and a couple of sequences that maybe are sometimes interesting. But the main stuff that I go through for this preset pack, I would say, is Rough Night and Uwa over here. Those are the 2 main ones that I've used in like maybe 15 tracks now, right? So those are really the sounds that I've picked up from the preset and that I really still use it for. But of course, once I got the preset pack at the start, I used it in a couple of tracks. There's maybe 3 or 4 tracks in which I use like different sequences and different melodic ideas and different effects and whatnot, and sometimes even the bass or something like that. That is the moment that the preset pack is really like interesting, and that is where you should be able to use it as long as possible, and that is what I look for in terms of design. But how is it working if someone uses a sequence and other people will use the same sequence in the track? That is not your concern as a preset designer. That is the concern of the user of the preset. And that is in the same way that when they copy a sample from Splice, they can most likely tell that other people are going to use those same samples, right? Because Splice is very popular. So that is not really my concern. Obviously, I give people enough options to kind of dial in the sound on their own. And I also make a lot of presets where the modulations are really important. The way that you modulate different parameters within the preset. And through that, they can make a preset their own. They can, of course, process it more. They can do a whole bunch of different things if they want to. But they can also just drop in the preset, turn up the ambience knob, and just let it play. And then, yeah, you're going to hear that in multiple tracks if multiple people do that. But that, as a preset maker, that's none of my worries. In fact, I would find it interesting. I would be honored if that were to happen. Like, one of the things that I told myself as a sound designer lately, or what I thought when I went to like Burning Mountain, is how cool would it be if you heard your own preset? If you heard like, hey, this modulation is so familiar to me, haven't I made this? That would be really cool. Like if it were actually played on the stage or something like that. Didn't happen, of course, but I did think that it would be, how would you say, that I would have kind of made it as a sound designer if I would hear my own preset at a festival. In the same way that as a musician, you hope that your own track gets played at the festival, or that you even get to play at the festival. As a sound designer, just having your preset be played on the festival would be already very rewarding, because then you know that your stuff is getting out there and actually getting used. Yeah, I mean like a very recognizable sequence, like a melody sequence. Yeah, at the end of the day, that's none of your concern as a preset designer. Here. Okay. I kind of want to make like a top pad, and I'm thinking kind of distorted sound. Let's see if we can There was a tutorial on doing spectral resonator inside of Serum, I believe. Sort of, at least. But I think I got this. This is not really a pad yet, but maybe this is the texture that I want. Not really, is it? I have something in my mind now that I want to create. I think we start with like strong tube distortion. A little bit of saw wave in there. See, long decay here. Now we get those kind of distorted tones out of there. I like that. We'll have it open up the filter a bit as well. And then I think it could be cool to there we are. That's what I want. We're distorting it into, or pushing it into the distortion with this very strong sub that then gets removed again. And this is also an effect that we can control with, let's go, not a square, let's go a sine. We can, I guess, set this to halfway. So it doesn't go out all the way, but it sometimes just gets a little bit stronger of an effect. And that shows kind of what kind of texture you get from that. Other than that, a little bit of noise in here would be nice. We're going to have the noise go through a low pass here. Or maybe even a multi. There's high and low pass in here, right? Yeah. I want a high pass and low pass in here, isn't that? I know there's these morphing ones. I don't want it to be as thin as a bandpass, ideally. Yeah, so that's a high pass. Oh, here we are. Yeah, this is what I want. This should go through the noise. The filter cutoff goes up. Not really getting the effect that I was after with the noise here. Add some ambience parameters here. I also want to have maybe dimension before the distortion here. Yo, psytrance? Yes. Yes, psytrance. Now suddenly in the tail we get a big size, but nowhere else. Funny. Suddenly we get a good Hall reverb there, towards the end there. There's some cool effects with the way too low sine wave in here. Overall interesting atmospheres as well that you can get out of this, but I think as a pad it would be cool. One of the things that I would like to test is how it does with like a power chord. I think this octave is still too low as well. Maybe the distortion is a bit much. I did like the lower tone, but now I think I might just go for like noise without any distortion on there, like this. It's a little bit less interesting. Atmosphere and noise oscillator works well also for pads. I know I don't think that those things get stored with the preset though. Like the sample itself that is used. I know wavetables are. But that would mean that I think if they don't have the sample in their noise folder, the preset won't work and it won't open up. So that I don't think that would work actually. 145 BPM, I bet it's full on the classic BPM. It's nothing. It's just a project where I'm making presets. I'm not actually producing a track today. What we would need to look for is how we can make this more interesting. I think one of the ways that we could do that is, let's have this as the filter. And we'll carry over the modulators there, which is just envelope 1, okay. I think we can make this more interesting with something like a comb. Or maybe even a reverb filter. Ah, okay, yeah, not the organics or something like that. Because I don't see like atmospheres in here. We have the inharmonic stuff, we have the organic stuff, but I believe this is all still like noise type sounds. Ah, here we are. Ooh, I cannot hold the key while doing that. I want to see if this is in tune. But something like this, using this. So this is an F. G, A. Plus 6, right? One more. Now this one should be in key. Let's see what happens if we just add that to. Not really getting the tone that we want out of this one. More like this, maybe. That's cool. We can add this on a macro. Cool. I think a little bit of chorus will work well as well here. And then maybe a phaser here on everything for macro. Works really well on these kind of textures here, I think. Seems the resonance only makes things louder. I don't really know what the reverb filter is doing, to be honest. I think it's just some kind of like all-pass filter-ish idea. I think for the last one we can use this, but maybe for some FM from the sub on both of these. Doesn't really seem to change too much. When I do these kind of things, I want all of the macros to have an immediate, obvious difference in the sound. That's going to be the sync. And then the final thing that we'll set up is, of course, the mod wheel here, which is this thing. Goes to here. Of course, we would like for it to be not distorting like that. But I think we got a cool sound out of that. Let's hear this in chord form. It makes some really cool resonant spikes, which I sometimes really like. A lot of people soothe those out, but I'm a fan of keeping those in. Okay. We'll give it mod wheel equals filter. Pitch bend goes up and down. All of the macros are set lower. High resonator, something like that. It's like a resonant pad, but obviously it's not a resonator. So I don't think it's the best name, but that will do for now. Usually I go through and maybe give them better names later on. Sometimes I don't. Right now, how much do we have? That's about 20-ish, I would say. I am going to take a quick break now to just refresh my ears and stuff. I'll put on some music, of course. Do I put on music or do I put on a mix? I guess I can put on a mix because then we have visuals, which looks nice. The last mix has not done very well for Eclipse. Just 187 views over here. Let's see, which track am I going to play? Guess just an idea of me. That is a very good track, so I'll play that one over there. Taking a quick break, and once I'm back, we'll continue with some more sound design.
naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, you would fulfill all your wishes. Every kind of pleasure you could conceive. Then you would get more and more adventurous, and you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. So in this idea then, everybody is fundamentally the ultimate reality.
What a timing. Exactly when the kick hit, I got back in my seat. Anyway, let's continue making some more presets. It would be cool to have a few one-shots that we can maybe place on top of what we have now. One of the things that I maybe want to do is make a few one-shots that already have like a melody in them, so that you just hold one note and it plays a little melody. So we maybe can look into that. Right now what we have is of course like unmixed and such. It does already sound cool. Did I lower all of the... Yes, I did. Okay, cool. Of course, if you once you've actually put it in here... Oh, I did make a typo there. Once you're actually using the preset, you'll be turning up the macros in all kinds of ways to make it more interesting. In that way, this is already a very interesting sound. I actually didn't expect it to sound that cool already. Hello Marcel, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. So yeah, as I said, I want to do a couple of one-shots that are just like already melodic. So let's make like half a bar idea over here thing. And I think still the best way to do melodies is by setting this down 4 semitones. Right? No, it's just going up 16 semitones, but I don't think that that's stable. Because you want to use the semitones over here, because those are stable. Depends a little bit on the vibe that we're going for, I guess. Let's set this to 1/2 and 16. 16 or 8? 16, right? Yeah, because we need to be able to hit all of the notes. So let's say... we make something like this. And then... here. If we set this up exactly 16 semitones, it should give us nice keys, because this doesn't snap in between. This is actual semitones. I think what we'll do is we'll make it a little bit more plucky to begin with. So we'll have like a pluck synth here. The whole idea is that this should just be an envelope that you play once. So maybe we'll do some cool stuff like this as well, so that there's like a volume envelope in here. And then we'll have a second filter here. We'll also change the wave later on to make it more interesting. I think right now this is a bit boring, but with the right delay and reverb, of course, it should hopefully be a cool idea at least. That's already a bit more interesting. I'm still sick. Oh, wow. That's unfortunate. Was it last week or the week before? In the feedback stream that you wrote that you were already sick. Either way, it's like almost a week or 2 weeks. That's still a lot. I hope you become well soon. Or get better, however you say it. I like this, but I would like to have a bit of slide in here. I don't think proper slide is really possible, right? Yeah, it's still going to a fixed position, I think, in terms of pitch. If we just set this to the coarse pitch, what will happen? It's more drastic. I mean, it's interesting, so I'll keep it like that. It's cool. I think what I want to do is also have a bit of a downsampling on this. That changes position sometimes. So again, just draw something in that is like a little bit random. Nice and flowy sounds, I guess. And then just have this kind of cycle around this area here. Oh yeah, of course. That's cool, and I think I want to have it kind of double fade in like that. That's more the reverb tone that I want to go for. Just like a long, kind of dampened reverb sound, I guess. Can turn off the AC now too, which is nice. Notowas, how are you doing? Welcome. Today is just a chill stream where we're making some presets. As you can hear, we're currently busy with like a melodic one-shot type sound. Little bit of... I was hoping a bit more. We'll need to set up the macro here. A little bit less of a pluck sound, maybe, to have it slide around a bit. We'll just have to set this over here. Uh, 13, I think. Of course, this also needs some kind of volume thing, which our volume is this one. Maybe cool to have just this on the macro. So we have like a layer. This is interesting. I like that. Would like the delay to be a bit more high frequency focused. And then overall bit of a chorus effect here. Okay, interesting. We have this pluckiness over here as well. Could be nice to have that open up too a bit more. I know we're already not using it for this thing. Just having it open up. That does sound more interesting, yeah. I guess you can get the same idea. Like we can set the layer through the filter as well, and then if we have both of them open, it's still going to function the same way as if the layer doesn't go through the filter. There's some interesting movement there. I like that. It does get like clicky towards the end, I feel. Like if you stop playing, there's still a little bit of that chorus sound. But maybe that's these things. Yes. Okay. So for some reason this thing does that. Yeah, there's like a little bleep at the end there. It's not the case when it continues to play. I think it has to do with the fact that in global I have it set to... where is this? Silence note plus effectuals when host transport stops. Yeah, so it stops playing. If I do it like this, it doesn't do that. So it doesn't have that strange click at the end. It's just the chorus getting that click because of the way that the synth stops playing there. Overall, I wanted to see if we can use this thing over here to distort it a bit. The compressor. Okay. I want to set it up so that we can dial that in. Of course, this is going to be way too loud now. I actually need this to start right here. And then in the middle, it seems to be a little bit louder, so we need to tune these up, I think. Both, right? I do like the sound of it. I do like it. We're getting some really cool sounds. Do think here a macro for tonality is cool. I'm also going to bend this plus so that it's not as aggressive. I just think the module may not do enough here. I am going to save this. But I do want, I want to check if there's a way that we can get the module to do more when the layer is turned on. Because you want like a tonal change here. Maybe have the module go up here as well. Okay. Is characterful, is that a word? And written correctly? Yes and yes. Cool. I'm not inventing things. I'm not making things up. So this is a melodic thing, so I'll call it Melodic Maniac. The wavetable on A looks like a kick transient rectified. It does a little bit have that vibe, yeah. Depending on where the bend mode is. Actually, as a sequence, this may already be cool. Clearly not made for it, right? Playing it on a kick and bass or something like that. It's just meant for the individual idea, but overall I do think it's a cool sound. Let me quickly save this version without any of the one-shots turned up. Or one-shots, any of the macros turned up. Pitch bend, do we want to set up any pitch bend? I do think we do. Mono, no legato or anything like that. I won a fridge lol from Effect Energy. I have no idea who that is or what that is. I'm glad for you that you won something. That's cool. Yeah, of course, with the ambience. That's more interesting. I I think the next step is that I want to see if I can get another baseline in here, because we don't have a lot of baselines either, and I want a little bit more of a processed zappy bass feeling as the one that we have now. Baseline synthesis for this kind of stuff is really annoying. It's an energy drink brand in Germany. Well, congrats. As I said, I've never heard of it, but it sounds very cool. Is it one of those mini fridges that you see sometimes in like the corner of a streamer that is just like a showcase of either Red Bull or Monster or something like that? Is it one of those smaller glass door fridges, or is it like an actual big fridge? Did you homebrew those wavetables? The one that we just looked at? No. This one over here is BMW Weird, which is part of the digital pack here. Yeah, the red mini fridge. Oh, that's nice. It's cool to have something like that in the room that maybe you're spending a lot of... Like, I would like to have one over here so that I don't have to walk to my kitchen every time I want to get something. And the drinks that I have now, especially now that it's summer, over time they just get warmer and warmer. So for that reason, it would be nice to have one of those. Although, if I got some extra money, it wouldn't be the first thing that I would buy with it. So let's make a base table, wavetable for this idea then. As I said, I want something fairly processed looking. So I'm going to look for a shape that I like. This looks like it could result in some interesting shapes. Okay. We're not yet going to know how well this is going to work in terms of the actual envelope of the bass or anything like that. Okay, and then over here. Oh, wait. It is moving because we haven't set up the... Yeah, okay. Remove. Let me find a spot. I would like to find a spot where there isn't that high of a peak. Because if I set it here to the zero crossing that it goes through, there's like a big peak over there, which I don't like. Maybe I'll just leave it like this, because this seems like a fairly stable one. So that means that we can delete this. And then add the frequency filter. Lower shape, lower cutoff here. And over here, of course. Full range. Okay. Let me quickly save that somewhere. Base envelope. Where do I have my... Oh, here, yeah. This is base table number 3. Okay, so we have our wavetable made, which means that we can go in here and rescan. I saw somewhere that someone was using all sorts of pictures for wavetables. Not sure what format works though. I believe PNG works, and the way that it works is fairly interesting in that it takes the height of the image and stretches it to 256. Which is how many frames there are. Meaning that every line of the image can essentially become one frame of information. It's not something that I've necessarily experimented with to any great extent. Like, I've sometimes imported one or two images into it, but it's not something that results in like very interesting sounds. I would say usually it's just some kind of clicky texture that you get out of it, because certain pixels are like very bright and certain pixels are very dark, and then you just get like up and down motion. But it depends obviously on the picture that you choose, and there might be interesting applications in designing actual pictures for the wavetable yourself, rather than just importing a picture that you find on the internet or that you take with your phone or something like that. Because I've noticed that those seem to not work the best. Like, maybe if you design some cool pattern in an image, that could be more interesting. But from what I've personally found, that's doesn't really happen when you just import random pictures into it. Anyway, now we can go into the base table number 3 here. There we have our base table. Nice. We can set up our envelope here, which nowadays I need to do like this. Why is this so resonant? I hate how resonant this is. I think we have to up the shape to make it less resonant. Let me quickly replace that file. Okay. And now if I rescan, I should be able to get one that is a little bit less resonant. Of course, now the filter doesn't close far enough. So this is there's a lot of fine-tuning involved, as you can probably tell here. So let's go somewhere in the middle of where we were before. It's a lot of back and forth between synthesizers because Serum isn't able to do what I needed to do spectrally wise. Like adding an effect on top of it like this. All of those bleeps, by the way, is me. My PC. For anybody watching, don't get scared, your PC is not. Or maybe it does have some issues and there's more bleeps than just the 2 that you just heard. But if there was only 2 bleeps, that means that your PC isn't having issues. Maybe I'll experiment with vector graphics. There could be, as I said, there could be some interesting things in there. It's just not something that I've noticed is particularly... Like, it takes also a lot of time, of course, to make the images, and it doesn't... Like, it's just the wavetable part. I would much rather spend that time actually working on the whole sound, I guess. Why is this technique not working? Maybe the frequency is going too high here. And not low enough here. I mean, it's at the lowest that it can go. So... Oh no, wait, we want this shape to be open. Of course. And then this shape to be slightly lower, I think. Yeah, over time, to remove the resonance, you want this shape to go up. And then we don't even necessarily have to go all the way to the higher frequencies, I think. Let's test this. I still kind of need to fine-tune the wavetable envelope technique, as you can probably tell by the fact that I have to save so many wavetables. But once I do, once I get consistently good sounding basses out of it, it is over for everybody else. Ah, wait. It's still just too open. Right? We'll close this a little bit more. And actually, I am going to increase the high frequencies a little bit here. Let's set this to maybe like 8, just for the click. Very interesting technique. It is very interesting because what we're essentially doing is we're making sure that everything is resampled into the bassline itself or the oscillator itself. There's no filter even involved with making this bassline, which means two things. One, you don't need to do any processing on it and any resampling or any of that kind of stuff. You can just play this in MIDI and it will work. At least once we have a bass sound that we actually like, of course. The second thing is that this bassline does not go out of key as a result of phase shift, which almost every other bassline technique that I know of does to some extent. Because the filter that is closing on the bass, the normal filter that you use over here, that obviously also has phase shift attached to it, and that actually changes the pitch slightly of your bassline while it is playing if it's moving. Because moving the phase is basically the same as moving the pitch, I guess, when you're playing back. I don't always know how to say this because technically, of course, that's not true, but practically speaking, that is. I just don't like the tonality that we're getting out of this. I want to see, which one was this based on again? Clean sub, bump, alt, minus 50. 5. Okay. Clean sub, bump, alt, minus 50. 500. This. Yeah, it doesn't have that resonant nasally sound to it. Of course, this is the sound that you want. Not this stuff over here, which is annoying. It may have to do just with the way that Vital works in terms of the resonance of this thing. Because I feel like if I set the shape too low, this is not going to be good either. Because I think this is going to make it sound more resonant when it's going down. You know what I'll do? I'll keep the shape more open here. And then we export. Because now it should be less resonant and darker, which should both get rid of that tone. Sorry, this is the preset that we're working on. We scan again, and then we go. I mean, that already works better. It's still not the texture that I'm going for, but it's already better. Could you use the low pass filter in oscillator warp? Yes, I could use that as well. That's a good idea. Let me reload this wavetable. Right about here. We can use this filter over here. Turn that into a low pass. And I believe make it go low enough like that. And hopefully have it less resonant. I do think I remember how to make wavetables in Vital. It has been a while, but I believe the trick is 4 seconds. 4 seconds. Cannot double click enter values in Vital anymore. I thought you were able to do that. Doesn't matter. And now I resynthesize preset the wavetable. Oh yeah, but of course, 0 phase. This off. We need that to be in the exact same spot, of course. Because we want the transient to always be at the same spot. And then I can export the wave file at this. Let's see if, hopefully this works better, but that is a very good suggestion that you had, because the other one I think is just too resonant for what we're trying to do here. Because we want a no resonance filter. Here. Oh. That's already better. That could be an awesome drone with some refining on the effects and filter. I mean, I guess in regards to this thing over here, yeah, that could be, but this is in the wrong synth for the pack. I don't think you meant any of this preset over here, right? I want to high pass this though. Remove fundamental on all of them. It's still a little bit of an annoying texture. I'm not entirely happy with it, but we can definitely work with this already. We're distorting here. It sounds like a very strange spectrum to me for the bass. I'll have to look at what's happening here. I guess it may be a bit of a too straight line. Could we, in here, with frequency filter, use a peak instead? No. You cannot increase the frequency of certain sounds. Okay. I mean, the way we can do that is through the resampling as well. EQ, just like a very low resonant dip here. Something like this. There's still a lot of experimentation happening here, of course. Now we have a bit of a different waveform. This should give us a little bit more of a defined transient. And then we go here again. And now I have to, in here, of course, also remove the fundamental of this everywhere. Okay, I like that a bit more texture-wise. You can still see that it needs a boost at around there, and that the sub is too loud now. Oh man, I want to see this, but I have to work. That happens sometimes, unfortunately, but glad you passed by the stream still. It's not really an exciting bass yet, is it? Still has a lot of that narrow feeling, like 500 hertz-ish area. Hertz. Yeah, so like 10 dB of 400 hertz would work. Oh, this is either a shelf or a thing. Yeah, of course. That would mean we need a peak here, which I believe exists. It doesn't go down though. That's annoying. Does this seriously not have a traditional bandpass peak? I guess there is the notch. But here you cannot really see how much you're cutting. It's also, the waveform is looking more and more terrible by the second here. I cannot imagine that this is a normal looking wavetable for baseline processing. Still, I think that this should hopefully give us a better tone. But why simply use the low pass filter and resample it in the wavetable? The whole idea, I mean, this low pass filter over here is now there statically, so that doesn't cause any issues and it stays up there, it doesn't get modulated down. The whole idea is that we take all of the phase shifting processes, including the filter that you would normally use for your envelope, and we resample all of that into the wavetable. That is the philosophy with which I'm going into designing these basses here. I mean, it sounds interesting. Overall, giving them a little bit of gain like that sounded good. Now I want to see the spectrum again. I think we will need to compensate the sub. Oh wow. How did that? I think our bass technique isn't working yet. Look at the spectrum for it. There's now a very strong notch. So of course, I think this went way too far. I think that's what happened. Let's set this a little bit like this. And now we try again. Wait. It does still variate. Now, there we are. This is probably the most boring part of one of the more boring streams that I'm doing, I know. But to me, this is very interesting, creating basses like this. It's just a really hard thing to do to get proper results. Because I don't think that synthesis nowadays is really made for the way that we're doing it. I mean, never made for it. Like, Serum doesn't have, for example, the filter directly built into it. If filtering the way that Vital does it on the bass, where you're spectrally filtering, if that was inside of Serum, this would be way, way, way easier to do, of course. Still not really sounding the way that I want it to sound. Let's try again with nothing turned on, just for testing here. Then we get this. Export. Here. Because now I feel like the problems that we were trying to solve before are completely gone just by the fact that we're now gain staging afterwards. After removing the sub. So process high pass, process each gain separately. Okay, it still seems that there is that thing there. So there we need like a 6-7 dB gain reduction at around 650. I also want to check the transient. Maybe it's a good idea that we do a little bit more phase shifting work on the transient, and in that case it would be a good idea to resample outside of Vital, which is going to make things even more complex. Because now I would need to lay out exactly 4 seconds worth of time. I think with a BPM calculator I should be able to find no, not tap for beat per minute, BPM division calculator. Tempo to milliseconds, that's what I need. Oh, so 120 BPM gives us 500 milliseconds. So we just do 2 bars then, for 4 seconds. Okay. What that means is that this should be exactly 4 seconds long now. And we should be able to export and import these wavetables inside of Faceplant. And then the thing that I want to do before we do that is a trick that I haven't shown yet on my channel, but will soon feature in a video, which is high frequency phase shifting to smooth out the transient. Something like this. Maybe 48 dB per octave. Let's go for that. I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to freeze this. Now it becomes a significantly more complex issue resampling this into a wavetable, because now it's like we're doing the trifecta. We have Vital for generating the wavetable, Faceplant is going to import the wavetable, and then Serum is going to be the synth or the synth that is actually using the wavetable. So now I can do this. correlate, I think. That should work, but it's not. Why is it not doing that? Do I have... I have one extra thing on there. Yeah, that's not what we want. We want it like this. Okay. So we'll have to do the duplication and the freezing again. I just shelve it in the FX section for lowering the highs, but I'm cheap. Yeah, we're trying to keep everything in the oscillators here. That's the whole point of doing it this way. You keep everything in the oscillators and you'll get cleaner patches out of that. This should hopefully be a nice C2 exactly here, and then we want the correlate or naive. I think naive may be a little bit nicer on the transient. And then we save this in... Oh, my camera is getting warm. I did record before, right before starting the stream, I did record a whole bunch of videos, so that could be a reason why it's now overheating so soon. We just need to rescan once more, and hopefully this method of creating wavetables still works with the patch that we set up here. It's funny, this is literally the opposite outcome of what I was expecting. There we are. We're getting a little bit of a smoother transient. Let's have a look at this kick and bass as well. And post effects on 26. Ah, I know why. Wait. We're still getting the strange textures, but it's closer to a bass sound that actually makes sense. Yeah, there's almost no follow through there. What is annoying is that it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio, you know what I mean? The sound that we have over here is not the sound that is going to come out of the envelope once the envelope is resampled. So this isn't really working. He broke what I liked. Yeah. That may happen more and more and more. as I'm just experimenting to make some psi here. But we're not really getting what I want to get. I'll set these to post mixer too, by the way. Let's quickly set up the velocity. There's like no tone in the middle. There's just like a big notch there. Which I don't know where it's coming from. What if, in the wavetable, we go like that and we go a bit higher? Ah, it doesn't reach all the way up because it's 120 needs to be. Okay, yeah, this may be a better wavetable that we have now. I always work with samples for basses. Will you render out the presets into keyed samples? No. No, I won't do that because these bass patches are... We're specifically designing the bass patch now. That is what we're all doing with all of this crazy envelope stuff. We're specifically designing it so that you don't have to do that. In the way that it will just always work. So that's not... Yeah, that's not something that I'm keeping into account. People that like to work with audio samples. Sorry. But this is... The whole point of the bass part of my pack is that there are going to be bass patches that you don't need to resample. Seems to have gained some kind of noisy texture. Why is that? Is that the M Dynamics MB doing its thing? It might be. Well, we'll try it out anyway, see if this gives us the kind of tone that we're after. Bass table 3. Remove fundamental and then gain separately. This is going to sound terrible, I know already. I am really wondering where all the clickiness comes from. Why is this suddenly... Why is this suddenly so washed out? Do you hear how suddenly it just has a weird... I guess it's this one now. I guess what I want is... something like that, but maybe a bit brighter. I also don't like how resonant it gets when it's that low, but if you open it up more... I think that's maybe it, texture-wise. Let's duplicate this over one last time and hope that now we don't have any very strange issues. It may have to do with the way that we import it. Whatever happened to the Cytones for Beginners series you only made 2 videos for? Was there just not enough interest? Yeah, that's kind of what happened. Also, the way that I planned that series is I wanted my kick and bass, what's now my kick and bass guide, my ultimate guide, the 2023 edition that came out last October. I wanted that to be the next episode of the beginner series, but after scripting it for so long and trying to cover everything kick and bass that the beginner would need to know, I figured it would be better for that video to be a standalone video. And that kind of discontinued the beginner series. I hope that this is going to get us the texture that we're after. So we're going to crop. We're going to go... Oh yeah, that's a big difference there. The algorithm that you're using. Okay. Then we save. Base table 3. We rescan. And now, hopefully this is going to get us the tone that we want. I think we're getting somewhere, guys. Looks-wise, it's still not great. It still feels like maybe in this area over here, we're losing a lot of the energy. And it's still, there's still a massive missing frequency there. Don't you want to curve a bit the filter shape? Maybe that's what's happening here. I just don't understand this relationship between a waveform that does not have any particular notch in there. Right, if you look at its full frequency. No notch. How does that go to such a massive dip everywhere in the spectrum? Does that happen actually in the wavetable itself? I don't think it does, right? What if we, just to test, aha, this is already better. Now we're getting somewhere. Still have a bit of a nasty click to it. Like that thing. But that should be fixable within the patch itself. With just a simple EQ here. Okay, I quickly want to have the sub bass. Do I want that, or we'll do a sine wave here, and then we'll do stereo wave through the noise oscillator. I'm going to go back and forth 2 times here, so that we get double the speed out of the noise oscillator. This is that trick that I showed of a while ago, where you use panning for stereo wave. So here goes noise oscillator. You can introduce a few differences between the left and the right channel. In this case, we want those to be right after the transient. So we'll get a shape that looks somewhat like this, I think. This is a cool effect. It's like actual stereo bass. But I do think it also affects the higher frequencies a bit more. I would like to get more of a click out of it though. I still feel like there's a little bit of an issue with the click. Let's see if we can hone down the frequency. not exactly the sound that I was going for. It's getting hard to get the... It's really... What the problem is with this technique is that there's no one-to-one process, right? Like, I want to be able to do everything in the wavetable, but the wavetable really has to work well, and that at this point is just a matter of guessing for me. It's just pure guesswork. Maybe we should change starting wavetable here. Maybe, first of all, let me find wavetables that don't have a sub in there. No sub. And let me just go for maybe the bump minus 100. Maybe something like this instead would work better. We're really not getting the sound out of it that I'm looking for. That is the main problem. I think it's not going up high enough in the high frequencies now. The issue is that it's too drastic of a filter. It's too steep of a filter. Unless you start this very low. Maybe then it will work. I did set my BPM wrong. Yes, you are correct. Thank you for that. That's maybe is going to save me some embarrassment here. Maybe finally I'm getting an idea of what we should be doing here. So we set correlate, looking through the frame. That is looking nice as well in terms of the overall shape of the wavetable. And then we save again as base tables 3. And now in here, it's of course going to sound terrible immediately when we load it up again, so we'll have to adapt everything to the new wavetable that we have as well. That is another annoying thing here. You cannot just shift out wavetables and expect it to work. Although it does seem to work. No. Still very resonant and very clicky. I do think I want to switch the functionality of the sub and oscillator B here so that this can be the stereo layer and this can be the sub. overall it's getting better. I like the sound that we're getting here now. This one can be removed. This one can go there. This one, of course, here. This then can become the highest, like this. Sorry, we just copulate or go like this, I guess. Sorry, why is oscillator? Why is oscillator B going up more than oscillator A now? Oh, because it's set there twice for some reason. This is becoming a mysterious patch, guys. Okay, so here we want to go to the highest frame, randomize all, and then process set phases to all frames. 7.6 here. Okay, and now we do mod source noise oscillator, and I think you want it, yeah, all the way up. For some reason we still don't have the same setup here. Now we do, and now we can tweak Why is that one? Okay, I think we have a bit of a better bass tone out of this. Well, I really liked what we did so far. I don't think I'm going to finish this bass patch here. I think I'm going to end the stream for today. Of course, what I would need to do is set up all of the macros, which is mainly just going to be boring stuff like the filter opening up and that kind of thing. It's not the most interesting part. It took me way longer than I expected to get a bass sound out of the wavetable that I wanted. And even now, I'm still not 100% happy with it. I still feel like there's a missing mid-range. There is a bit. I think the sub is too loud. Ah, yes. And the click isn't the best. us? Yes, I am indeed. I'm going to end the stream here. Overall, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed all of the presets that we made and all of the different techniques that we looked at and looked into. There's still more that I need to do for this patch, of course, to work. And to be honest, I feel like it's not really getting me to the texture that I want even still. One of the things that is hard is getting the envelope right. So I think what I want to do is I want to do a little bit of experimentation on my own and then come back and maybe do another stream where we dive a little bit more into creating these bases from scratch. Because I feel like I'm not yet prepared to apply the technique that I want to apply here. So, as I said, that's going to be it. Also, my camera has died, so obviously the stream quality isn't the best anymore. But I hope that you enjoyed anyway, and I hope to see you in the next one.